that federal employees are betting on these prediction markets and potentially getting rich?
The whole world, unfortunately, has become somewhat of a casino. And you look at what's going on all over the world, in Europe and every place they're doing these betting things. I was never much in favor of it. I don't like it conceptually, but it is what it is. No, I think that I'm not happy with any of that stuff.
You don't like these betting things. Didn't you try to start a casino in Atlantic City that went under? You don't like these betting things, but your second largest donor is an Israel firster whose whole wealth was generated through casinos? Yeah, that's what Miriam Adelson did to make all that money. But okay. Despite President Trump's claim that he's not the biggest fan of prediction markets, he clearly loves them enough to sue the state of Minnesota to prevent the state from banning them. I gotta say, I have really grown to loathe the federal government, and I understand the debate of states' rights a lot better now. But anyway, earlier this week, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed a bill making it a felony to operate or even advertise prediction markets in the state of Minnesota, making Minnesota the first state to do so, which I think is pretty based. That's great. These betting markets have been a disaster. There are no safeguards in place, very few regulations. Kids are gambling on nonsense. So according to the law, prediction market is defined as a system that lets consumers place a wager, engage in degenerate gambling. That's what this is, okay? Place a wager on a future outcome like sports, elections, live entertainment, someone's word choice, and world affairs. The prohibition extends to services supporting prediction markets like virtual private networks that could allow consumers to disguise their location and get around the ban, which I was super curious about because, typically people get around bans like this by using VPNs, but it seems like they thought this through in Minnesota. However, an updated version of the prediction market bill allows trading on weather, an exception that followed pushback from the agricultural industry, which has historically used futures trading on weather as a hedge against storms. What is happening? Okay, against storms and other inclement weather that can affect a harvest. Okay, so to be clear, this bill wouldn't change prediction market users themselves. Similar bills have, by the way, been introduced in 14 other states. So other states have identified these prediction markets as a problem. That includes Hawaii, North Carolina. They both have pending bills to ban prediction markets or basically ban the prediction market industry statewide. However, this effort is running into some legal obstacles. Of course, the second you want to do something like this, you're going to deal with some lawsuits. So lawsuits have been filed. There's no question about that. Questions over whether states or the federal government should oversee the prediction market industry have already triggered more than 20 lawsuits. One of those cases in Nevada led to Kalshi pausing its sports betting in the state after a judge found it indistinguishable from state regulated sports gambling. And before we continue, it is so important for you guys to understand that the prediction markets are not just incredibly sketchy and have an incredibly sketchy legal basis for how they operate. You're about to learn more about how they differ from like a typical casino in a state in this next video. Take a look.
Basically, prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket consider themselves to be closer to the IO electronics market than DraftKings. By this logic, their argument to the CFTC is that what they offer isn't a gambling product, but instead markets to trade futures contracts on real-world events that have meaningful economic consequences.
I think my problem with Kalshi has been they tell us that none of what they're doing is gambling. That's the big thing. The argument is, so under the CFTC, everything has an economic consequence. If you're allowing event contracts, it has to have an economic consequence, right, in the world. So in that world, everything has an economic consequence. I can invent an economic consequence to everything. But yeah, there's this line of things that are really important markets, Fed interest rate cuts, the price of Bitcoin. These are things that are like very easy to diagnose. They have an economic consequence in the world. All these other things are more just for betting and speculation. And again, like we have these things because there hasn't been a whole lot of thought. Kalshi insists everything's an event. Everything can be traded, and there you go. You get everything in the world. And again, the CFTC has just kind of said, sure, it's all an event. We're not going to stop you.
I agree with that, gentleman. I mean, creating a gambling platform and then telling us it's not gambling is laughable. But the reason why they do that is so they don't have to abide by regulations that they absolutely should be regulated by, similar to other gambling establishments or gambling platforms. By the way, one of my other issues with Kalshi and Polymarket is how people cite what people are betting on as if it's a poll. It's not a poll. So like, I don't care what people are betting on Polymarket when it comes to the Massey Galrine race. These are just gamblers who are making a guess. Sure, it might be an educated guess, but I don't care. That's not the same as a poll, but okay. But I have a problem with news organizations doing that, and they do it often. It drives me crazy. So remember, both Kalshi and Polymarket allow sports gambling, but right now, prediction markets are not subject to regulations that apply to sports gambling apps like FanDuel and DraftKings. And so that's why states are now looking to crack down on prediction markets. But let's get into the lawsuit specifically filed by Trump's DOJ against the state of Minnesota. So the DOJ's lawsuit reads as follows. Minnesota's attempt to criminalize derivatives contracts is precisely what Congress sought to prevent. If Minnesota's law is permitted to go into effect, the exchanges that offer these long-standing contracts, as well as those who partner with them, can be prosecuted as felons. I don't see a problem with that. Anyway, they continue, this flagrant and unprecedented incursion into the commission's exclusive regulatory sphere must be preliminary and permanently enjoined. Okay, so what do you do as a state leader, as a governor, as a state legislature, when you are unfortunately living under a federal government that is so corrupt, they have no interest in regulating some of the most nefarious business practices in this country? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? What do you do when you see these prediction markets drive families deeper and deeper into debt? What do you do when it feeds into a terrible addiction that someone might have? But this industry isn't really regulated much because they just want to call it something different rather than a gambling platform. What do you do? So basically, this is the Trump administration coming in to kneecap state leaders in Minnesota who want to do the right thing and protect their constituents from an unregulated industry, otherwise known as betting markets. Okay. According to The Hill, the administration believes prediction markets are in the federal domain and should be regulated by the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. But what do you do when those pieces of crap don't want to do their jobs? What do you do when they're corrupt and they have no interest in regulation? Kalshi and other major prediction markets have agreed with the Trump administration on this. What a shocker. So this lawsuit shouldn't be surprising. If there's one thing the Trump administration loathes, it's regulating businesses that, they might be bribed by, they might be profiting from personally. So in February, Mike Selig, who is the chairman of Trump's Commodity Futures Trading Commission, stated that the Trump administration will join forces with the prediction markets against the states seeking to regulate them. What a shocker. Let's take a look.
CFTC Chairman Mike Selig here. Over the past year, American prediction markets have been hit with an onslaught of state-led litigation. In response, the CFTC has today filed a friend of the court brief to defend its exclusive jurisdiction over these derivative markets. Prediction markets aren't new. The CFTC has regulated these markets for over 2 decades. They provide useful functions for society by allowing everyday Americans to hedge commercial risks like increases in temperature and energy price spikes. They also serve as an important check on our news media and our information streams. Today, the CFTC is taking an important step to ensure that these markets have a place here in America and have the integrity and resilience and vibrancy that our derivatives markets deserve. To those who seek to challenge our authority in this space, let me be clear. We will see you in court.
Yeah, because you guys are scumbag criminals, okay, that want to enable a degenerate industry that is destructive to society. That's the reality of the situation. That's the reality. Hold on. So explain to me how a bunch of randos betting on BS on Kalshi or Poly Market, like, oh, what color tie is JD Vance gonna wear today? How is that a check on the media exactly? How is that a check on the media? So why did Minnesota follow through with their bill despite the threats they've been receiving from the Trump administration? Well, Keith Ellison, who's the Minnesota Attorney General, weighed in on this saying, quote, I'm very concerned about the harms of prediction markets on Minnesotans. Prediction markets are designed to be addictive and prey especially on young people and low income folks. They help the ultra rich get richer, something the Trump administration loves. I added that part. And the rest of us get poorer. My office and I are reviewing this lawsuit and will respond in court. I don't know if they're gonna win because right now we are controlled by corporate interests in Israel. So unless we start to get serious about pushing back against corporate rule and the infiltration of foreign countries into our political system, we're cooked. And I don't want to live in a country that's ruled by people like that. So every time I hear someone in the news media mention like, oh, let's check in with Poly Market and see what they think about this congressional race. I don't give a shit what they think about the congressional race. It's irrelevant. It's a bunch of random people making bets, hoping that they'll win some money, gambling. That's what it is, it's gambling. And if you're looking to protect your citizens in your state, if you're hoping your state representatives, your state legislature is gonna look out for you on this issue, Trump is gonna do everything in his power to prevent that from happening. That's what this story is.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.